Leo.
Hello Leo, this is your October forecast for 2013 and we have you here this month with the sun going through your third house. So you'll start seeing that things are going to start kicking into action here as far as getting on the move with things. Now here September, it was more like looking back over all of your financial situation, crunching numbers, looking at your income, weighing and balancing. That is now over. Now you can start taking action on things and be more in motion, as the third house is all about your neighborhood, back and forth, and communicating with them, and also perhaps siblings will become a little bit more important this month, or anything also indicating short distance travel too. You might have some important talks, especially when we come down here a little bit later mid-month. I'll get back to that, where you can have some business going on, contracts and so forth. But while we're talking about this third house, where the sun is going to be passing through, this is the very same area that the new moon is going to be passing through, and that will be on October 4th. And the new moon is always when we plant our seeds of intention. So what would the intention be here in this area? Well, it visits this area once a year. So right now the focus is more on how do I communicate and how do I listen? Because listening is half of the communication, or conversation, should I say. Is too much going out? Is too little coming in? Where is that fine, beautiful balance? And especially because it is in the sign of Libra that balance is. Okay, so sometimes if there's too much of a monologue, well, then you might lose people's hearing. They won't be listening. You got to give them space so that they can speak to and interact. And so it's about stepping back and coming forward. You'll see how this is going to be pretty much all of this month of October. Once you become conscious of it, you'll see how other people communicate, who's hogging the scene and who's just sitting there listening. Okay, so in that, you'll be applying these things to yourself. The new moon on the 4th is all about how can we improve communication. Then we have the full moon on the 18th, which is going to be in your 9th house. That is the opposite house of the 3rd. And so some of you might feel that there's going to be a longer trip in the mix, or the need, the wish, the want, the hope to go somewhere far. Okay, we're not talking to the neighboring city. Some of you might be traveling out of state or even out of country, or finding yourself making some plans about it. Now, the 9th house also rules legal issues, so if you have anything on that map, well, that would be the time around the 18th that you should be hearing some news for it. Or any also, I'd like to say, applications, if it goes into any kind of courses or classes or anything, universities that you might be applying for, there might be something there around the 18th that you will see coming back to you. Then we have Mars has been transiting now your first house. And the first house, that is you, Leo. You know, this is what you radiate out to people. And what they have been seeing here throughout most part of September is you being really active, you taking action and being hectic perhaps too, which Mars can do. You know how feisty Mars can be, but it has given you the energy that you've needed to kind of move these mountains along. So you've had some challenges, but you've done really, really well. And now Mars is going to be moving into the 2nd house. So now we're going to be looking at finances again and counting over what is coming in and what is going out. Now the sun just did that here in the last month of September, but the sun has moved out. Mars is coming in. So you'll see that that trend is going to be following up, but there's going to be a little bit more action. Maybe here in September, the sun was observing, looking at, thinking and whatnot, but Mars is now going to come in and do something concrete about it. And that's a good thing, it's really putting fire behind it. Some of you will also see perhaps how in this period, over the coming month and a half, we'll be able to initiate something that can give you perhaps even a second string of income, if that is what you desire, or at least get your accounts balanced pretty good. Then we also have Pluto still in your 6th house, figuring out how to fall into place with new daily routines. Now, this has been a trend for many of you Leos here for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years now. You've been doing this dance, and some of you in that very first portion of the sign, you've already found your grounding, you found your pad, and you've gone through this transformation of how, coming out of that, your life might have felt like an upheaval, but you're finding your groove. Now, those of you born in the second portion of your sign, the mid portion, you're starting to feel that something is coming. You're feeling this pulse starting to lift and rise, and not necessarily maybe yet knowing what it's going to do, but it's more like this sense, this anticipation of something coming. And you're right, it is coming. Pluto is coming to you. And this will linger with you now for months and maybe the next couple of years. So we'll be touching upon these matters again, over the next few months. And whatever directions come to this Pluto is what is going to be triggering or releasing these energies. So it's not all at once, it's underlying all the time. But when the transits come and create aspects to it, this is when you're going to see how Pluto is going to go in and renew these areas in your life. So yes, you still have Uranus in the 9th house, and so you're yearning, you're reaching, you're striving for this newfound freedom, intellectually, mentally, spiritually. It's more opening the crown chakra of taking in this higher consciousness that's coming into so many of you, and loving it, and expanding with it, and using it, incorporating, embedding it into your daily consciousness. So this is wonderful. What it's doing, it's breaking you free from all the old dogmas and finding your own platform here in the universe. And this is very renewing. Jupiter, yes, you have pulled somewhat back from the groups. You were so incredibly active. So Jupiter is going to be here now until next summer. It's going to retrograde and kind of go back, not necessarily into your 11th house again, but you're kind of like carving out your own new river right now, because you were really coming down a white river here all last year. But now it's more like it's taking a back river, and you're carving, so it's taking a little time. But you're loving it though, because it feels soothing, it feels healing, it's good for spirit to just go within the inner universe, because everything has been so out there for you for a long time now, Leo. And then we also have Venus is going to move into a beautiful place of your chart. It's going to move into that area that you rule, which is the 5th house. This is happening on the 6th. So right now, though, here, end of September coming into that first week of October, well, it's all about the home. Venus wanting to find its root, find its grounding, beautify your surroundings where you live, doing the feng shui beautification of your home, and finding something that feels harmonious to you. And you know what? It's been like a very deep need for many of you Leos. When Venus goes through the 4th house, not only is it a need to have that security of home, but it's passing through the sign of Scorpio. This is why so many of you have felt the depth, that intensity, that I really, really need this now, because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So in fact, in many ways, this Venus has a Venetian Plutonian aspect to it. And this is what really, what should I say, brings us to a chrysalis of transformation within our inner spirit, because it also kind of triggers fears maybe from the past, childhood, Fourth house is who we are in that inner core. So it kind of brings up old memories. And if they're good, then it's great intensity that you're feeling here in September coming into October. If it always wasn't all that great growing up or whatnot, well, then this Venus in Scorpio can bring up and to kind of pick on those wounds of insecurities where you might feel like stress because our body has cellular memory. So some of you might have got that experience too. So anyhow, it's moving out of this area here on the 6th, moving into the 5th house. Venus loves, loves, loves the 5th house because that's where she can have fun and play, socialize, hang out with friends, do a couple of hobby things, go shopping, beautifying yourself. It's a place of fun, healing, and laughter, and also a place of creativity and projects. So any new projects starting here now after the 6th, well, let me tell you, you will love doing what you're going to do. It's going to come easy. It's going to come effortlessly. Then also Saturn, well, yes, Saturn is in your 4th house. We know that, and this is why some of you have been tested in the home area on various levels. And of course, it all depends on where Saturn is in your personal chart, and where this Saturn it falls in your personal chart. For better or worse, Saturn gives us structure and new foundation and can shore up things and be really, really good. Now, if you have any personal natal planets hitting this Saturn, well then, of course, you're going to have an opposite reaction or experience of it. And this is why, when we do these solar scopes, it's in general for all of you Leos, but you're so individualistic, each of you, because you have your birth charts. And this is why we can get comments at times. It's like, hey, why didn't I get the good stuff happening this month that was mentioned? Well, that was Venus in the 5th house for all of you in general, your solar 5th house. But then, if you're having personal hard angle aspects to it, well then, no, you wouldn't get that experience. This is why the private personal readings tend to be somewhat different than from the general. But even though you're, in spite of your personal charts, having Venus move through the 5th house in your solar chart will lift the energy of this area. So you will have fun regardless. Now, also, the Mercury, we talked about Mercury. It is retrograde this month from the 21st to November 11th. And as we all know, we don't buy new things, under a retrograde because they tend to turn out funky, and then you're going to have to go get a refund and all that. And especially not things going to the home, because Mercury is in the 4th house of home and home appliances. So no big pieces of furniture or equipment, appliances for the kitchen. Hold off or get it before that date. You can go in and pay it and store it till you get it in where you need it, and then not till after the 22nd. However, though, yes, it is going to get up to at least 10 degrees here with your Saturn, this Mercury, before it goes retrograde. This is when you could have a very serious engagement in some communication. It could with somebody in the family communication. It could also have something to do with property, because it's the 4th house of residence and properties that we own. Mercury can also rule contracts, and Saturn binding those contracts. So the 6th is a very good day for it. It will pass here just a little slight bit, then it's going to turn around, go retrograde, and go back into your 3rd house of communication. So that will be until November 22nd. So yes, what else can we say here before we start on the top of the month? Well, I will say on the 1st, Mercury and Neptune are going to have a conversation, which is very idealistic. It's something that's going to trigger you spiritually and creatively. It's like the symphony of the stars is going on, and you're kind of feeling so happy and elated for whatever reason. It could also just be you having an experience too. It could be a dream or a vision or something, which really is going to leave you feeling elated with the need to share this, but it might not be the best time, and I've told the other signs this too, that you might be up against a wall if you tried to share it with the wrong person who's not open-minded, because I see Pluto and the Sun on the same day is square, and that might just be opposing forces coming in that will test the fabric of what it is you believe, and you shouldn't have to defend yourself, and you might have to on the first. And when something is this important to you, you shouldn't, no matter what, need to have to defend any of it, okay? So just pull back, don't go into it, and there will be a better time for you to share this the following week, okay? Then I see some very deep, powerful communications coming in that symbolizes a part of this transformation that you're going through. That will also be when Venus now moves into the 5th house, which will be on the 6th. It's leaving the 4th house, so you're going to have a lot of fun throughout October from the 6th onwards. It is happy-go-lucky energy, and like I said, Venus loves this area. So you will have that on the same very day that you're going to be either signing some documents or talking about something of contractual importance, perhaps. We got a couple of funky days. 10th to 12th, Venus and Neptune are square. Something maybe you bought didn't come out the way you wanted it to, because Venus rules objects and things. Neptune, it's like, well, it kind of came apart, or it's just not flowing. It could be emotional, romantic. Venus rules the heart and love, and Neptune, the ideal, but the ideal is not sitting with what it is the heart wants. And something might just not be right about a situation, because I see how you're going to be reacting here with a square to Jupiter, where you're going to have to say something about it. Maybe at other times you might have just suppressed it or swallowed it, but no, Jupiter wants righteousness. So on the 12th, whatever comes up. On the 10th, you may not say something right there, right then, but then on the 12th, something is coming out. And so be it. It will put things in balance. Then we have Mars moving into, like I said, your 2nd house of income, and this sector from the 15th, and it will be there throughout the month, so, and way into next month. And that's you looking over those finances that we spoke of. And then there might be an unexpected surprise on the 16th when we have the aspect of Venus and Uranus. I always love that aspect. It's unexpected surprises. For you, this will be coming through the 5th house and your 9th house. So it could have something to do with travel. It could have to do with love or some dating scene. It could be through your children, perhaps, coming unexpectedly. Yeah, you will see what it is, but it's fun though. The 5th house loves fun, and Uranus is going to spring it upon you. So great news on that day. Watch out for a miscommunication around the 19th when Mars and Neptune, they're not really doing the right thing here. Either somebody is going to say something and you hear it differently, or you're saying something and they're picking it up differently. Might lead to something that needs to be corrected down the road, especially because it's right there on the same cusp as Mercury is going retrograde, okay? So be careful. Don't do anything big, meaning any big contracts. Not a good time to do that right now. And then the month is ending here on the 31st with Mars and Pluto, and they're trying to one another. So Mars is active here, wanting to push forward, and Pluto's wanting to transform and lift the energy. And I'm seeing how you're going to be quite busy at getting things into place. And this has to do with your day-to-day space, Pluto being in your 6th house and Mars in your 2nd house, to balance out things so everything properly gets together there. So yes, and then I'll just like to say again, the new moon, there's a full moon on the 18th, 9th house, so you're going to be harvesting something there in this area for what you believe, hope, belief, religion, spirituality. It could be publishing if you're writing or wanting to get something out there. Great time to get some recognition on blogging or vlogging. Those things, anything 9th house inspired. which also rules travel, and foreign countries, people, and places, and so forth. But in the overall, it's going to be a pleasant month for you Leos. It's autumn, it's beautiful, it's time to get out and about. The heat is breaking, so you can have more of that clean, fresh, crisp air. And the Leos love to be out and about. They're in nature, so, make the most out of it here now in October. So I wish you the very best. Listen to your moon sign and rising sign. See you next month. Bye now.